AVCT stock could be presenting a glimmer of hope here. Let's go ahead and find out exactly what I mean in this video. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is ARCa coming at you with an AVCT, technicals, raw price action, and statistical threat of analysis. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCab. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right into the charts. So we are looking at AVCT here in the 4-hour chart, the same chart that we've been looking at for quite some time now. We've actually been charting this for a very good amount of time. So actually we did notice that we were in a rising wedge in which we called a downside from literally right up here. The downside price objective suggested a continuation down to the price of about 73 cents, in which we have not realized. We only realized about 50% that move, and since we have continued a move to the upside, we have found some resistance at the 0.786 level here at about 95.25 before finding a closing of the candle right under this for resistance. Now, if we're looking at this in raw price action here, this candle was very close to closing as an inverted hammer, which would then present a continuation to the downside. However, as you can see, it has printed above the 50% mark of this candle, so this is actually a bullish candle. It does not look like to me a bearish candle just yet. So the bears were actually taking control, but yeah, the bulls actually ended up taking that control right back and pushed it a little bit further to the upside. Yeah, I mean, otherwise it would have looked bearish to me. I'm sorry, I'm being a little pensive about this. I usually don't prepare too much of information within these tickers before I start talking. I like to look at it as raw as it is, and then I just tell you what I feel as I look at it. Okay, so I think that's part of the magic behind my strategy, is the fact that I don't overthink it, and I put it based on I put the ideas down based on raw price action, the technicals, what's the math saying, right? So we've done all that before, but now it's time to apply that discretionary side of trading into the theory here, or into the strategy. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on. Actually, one more thing. Let me just look at the simple moving averages and see what's going on. Okay, so we do have the 10-day simple moving average serving as a form of support now. We have made a cross above it, and we have closed above it, which is good. And as you can see, we actually used the 50-day simple moving average as a form of resistance before us coming right back down. So the sell-off from this candle was actually very much expected, if you were following the trade, of course. Now let's look at the exponential moving averages and see what we have. The 7 days also, yeah, it's very similar to the 10 simple and the 50 simple. The 7-day exponential and the 30-day exponential very much like the simples, using it as support down here and using it as a resistance point. Okay, so now let's move on to the next chart. Let's see. Okay, so this is going to be the statistical side of the analysis here, and we've been following this statistical side for quite some time now. The move to the way up, like I mentioned when we were right up here, saying that in order for us to continue to the upside, we do need to meet the volatility component of the BBWP indicator, as well as the moving average alongside the stochastic momentum moving average and signal line, both pivoted to the upside in order for us to apply a statistical metric that we acquired via a backtest throughout the entire trading history of AVCT and the bi-daily chart. We needed to meet that criteria in order for us to make that upside move of 58%. It is currently still within it, but now that I'm looking at that raw price action, like I said here, it's looking like we are potentially starting a reversal and a continuation onto the upside here. So in the statistical metrics, this is still not invalidated. It is very much still in play. Now, I mean, I know we've been looking at it for some time now. It is the bi-daily chart. So every single candle is a 2-day long period, a 2-day long read. Now, for the new viewers, this is volatility that you're looking at, represented by this indicator BBWP. Volatility is direction neutral, so we pair it with an indicator similar to this one. I use stochastic momentum in TradingView, but you can really use any momentum-based indicator like an RSI or something like that, which this is very similar to to an RSI. I mean, okay, so based on price action here, it definitely looks like we are now about to start this, about to correct this to the upside once more. And it looks like the 58% upside metric can be applied. So that the upside move to that I'm looking for is to about $1.59-ish at the 0.236 Fibonacci ratio here. Okay, so now the back test was actually performed by me by hand throughout the entire trading history of AVCT. So that's why you see all these metrics taken down. I do this by hand so that we can be able to see or gain some statistical variables for us to consider. So now the criteria to be met for that back test is actually anytime that the volatility has reached or surpassed the critical expansion zone, which I consider to be anything above this red line here within the 90 percentile. I've taken note of that iteration's upside thrust versus the duration of the iteration, and also taking into consideration how many times the volatility versus momentum profile has guessed the upside correctly versus incorrectly. So that's why I have these vertical lines. Okay, so now the back test came in with some very interesting results. First of all, the back test was performed with the stochastic momentum oscillator by itself. So I did backtest this to see how accurate it is in determining the direction for the AVCT asset in the bi-daily chart, and that out of 12 total iterations throughout the entire trading history of it, got 10 out of those 12 correct, giving us an 83.33% of upside accuracy, which is very good. And it's not perfect, but it's good to consider. Okay, so now based on the volatility versus momentum profile in the iterations that I explained right over here, out of the 12, we got a rare statistic here. Out of 12 iterations, 12 were guessed correctly to the upside, giving us an averaged upside accuracy of 100% with an averaged upside thrust of 58.53%, which is the 0.236 level we're talking about here at about 159 over the span of about just over a month. Okay, so since the firing of the signal, you're looking at about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We're at about 14 to 16 days of this statistical average. This is proof of work. So it is moving accordingly. It is a choppy action. As you can see here, we can face corrective moves before continuing on to the upside. It is a I mean, we're looking at socially or psychologically impaired assets here, facing just all-time lows, like brand new all-time lows throughout the last few months, actually. So this is very challenging. Okay, so now let's move on to the next chart to see what we have. So this is going to be the RSI, and we're going to be looking at suggestion for direction or a bias for direction in the immediate short-term to medium-term time frame. Okay, so now I have made a diagram here for the new viewers, just in case you catch me talking some silly languages. You'll know what I'm talking about. You'll be able to follow along. So follow along. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 zones, and these are the 4 zones right over here, just blown up. Okay, let's make this smaller. Okay, so for the 30-minute immediate short-term time frame, you're looking at a continuation to the upside, and it's sitting well within the grips of the bull strength percentile, which is those words. Well within the grips of the bull strength percentile are so very rare in today's trading. So I don't actually say that very often. So this is looking very good for AVCT in the immediate short term. Now let's look at the bi-hourly here. The bi-hourly is also sitting well within the bullish strength percentile. This is bull weakness here, and it is suggesting an aggressive upside even still. Okay, so now let's look at the 6-hour chart, and the 6-hour RSI is also suggesting a continuation onto the upside, and it is within the shallow areas of the bear weakness percentile, which only indicates a gravitational pull into bear weakness percentile. I'm sorry. into bull weakness percentile. Okay, so when I say bull weakness or bear weakness, it means that there's the likelihood of us trading within this area is not as strong of a bearish move as it would be when we're in bull strength, and inversely. Okay, so just so you can get that into your notes as well. So now let's look at the daily RSI, and the daily RSI is now in the very, very shallow areas of the bull strength, the bear strength percentile, and it's suggesting a continuation onto the upside. And like we said in this iteration here, we're right at that border. We're right at the shallow area. So the likelihood of us moving into a bear weakness is very likely, and suggesting a continuation onto the upside. So please take whatever I do show and I iterate within these videos as a form of entertainment. I can't actually suggest for you to buy or sell any assets, okay? Do your own DD and we'll be okay. But I am looking at a potential entire green day for AVCT stock tomorrow, starting from, let's see, starting from literally almost immediately, as soon as the early pre-market. I can see there is a strong likelihood that AVCT stock will end green tomorrow, and it is in bull control. Okay, now as far as targets to the way up, I guess we can take a quick look at that. Let's take a Fibonacci retracement from our current high to the swing low and see what we have in play. Okay, so we do have the one spot 618 at $1.03, or $1 near 4 cents right over here, which is a very important ratio for us to consider. We may find some resistance at the $1 level at the one spot 272, which I think may be confluent with our SMA 50. Let's see. And no, not quite. It's actually at about 97, 98 cents, the SMA 50. So yeah, actually there's a high likelihood to where we can actually move up to the $1.03 level, if we don't face some impulsive moves like this, right? So I'm looking at technicals, just raw, not considering any type of psychological buying. Okay, so if the technicals are followed accordingly, we can see a jump to the one spot 618, followed by a confirmation of support by reversing or retracing, a small pullback to the SMA 50 and using the SMA 50 as a form of support before continuing on to the upside. So AVCT is looking pretty good in my opinion here. Okay, so I think this is a pretty good place for me to leave off the video. If you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me within Discord or Twitter. I'll make sure to leave the links in the description below for you to consider joining the trading community in Discord called ARCa. But with that said, I wish you well. I wish you a good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.